This is Cinnsanity! No, really, folks, this is Cinnsanity from Weyerbacher. This is a barley wine ale aged in bourbon barrels with cinnamon. 13.3 ABV. Yeah, this might just finish me off for the night, folks. I am the Mighty Plantain, and this sounds like a fucking intense beer. Barley wine from Weyerbacher, aged in bourbon barrels with cinnamon, coming in at 13.3% ABV. That's going to be kind of rough, I think, just reading the description. So let's get into it. Why did I do that so gently? I don't know. It might have something to do with the fact that I've had a few beers ahead of time, and I just read the stats on this one, and I think I'm in trouble. Oof. Oh, it definitely looks... I didn't get a good head on it. Definitely looks like a good barley wine. But that is cloudy, and there's a bit of a reddish tinge to it, and it's cloudier than I'd expect from most barley wines. They tend to be a little bit cloudy, but it's cloudy and thick-looking, muddy-looking, and that reddish tinge just makes this thing look angry. I'm definitely getting this boozy bourbon aroma to it. It's not very effervescent. There's not a lot of bubbles coming up. It's so hazy and so cloudy. Oh, you can't see a lot of bubbles coming up through here, but if you look closely around the rim of the glass, there's a lot of little itty-bitty bubbles coming up through there. So it's quite effervescent, despite the fact that there's no head on it. And let me give that a couple more seconds. I think I just yanked that away really quick. Like I said, my judgment is not the best right now. Just to say nothing about my sense of taste, just my mental faculties are a little bit impaired. But yeah, I'm just getting that general booziness and a slight hint of bourbon aroma. Well, up front, it's got that sickly sweet barley wine flavor. When you've got a really good barley wine, there's this fermented sweetness to it that's almost sickly sweet fermentedness. That, if you've had several barley wines, you know what I'm talking about. If you've had some horrible barley wines, you probably don't know what I'm talking about. If you've had Sierra Nevada's Bigfoot or some other decent barley wines, then you definitely know what I'm talking about. But there's this sickly sweet fermented booziness up front it can be off-putting, but if you like a good barley wine, it's not. And in this, there's just a hint of it. Just a hint of it. So in that first sip, it was a little off-putting. Now, after the third sip, it's not there at all. The cinnamon comes through in the finish. It's not enough cinnamon to burn. Or maybe there's a slight burn to it, but no worse than you'd get from like a cinnamon applesauce, which brings me to my next point. That boozy, sickly sweetness fades to an actual sweetness that complements the cinnamon that comes through in the finish just right, so that it actually is like a slightly boozy cinnamon applesauce. And I don't know where I'm getting the apple from, because there's no apple in this. It's a barley wine with cinnamon. But I think that sweetness of the barley wine is combining with the cinnamon to make me register this cinnamon applesauce flavor. It's pretty amazing, all things considered. And once you get past the first two sips, you wouldn't realize this was a double digit. Pardon. And so once you get past the first two sips, you wouldn't realize this is a double-digit ABV beer until the hiccups kick in, which I'm sure you've noticed here. Give me a chance to stifle these. I'm going to show you how it's done. Seems to be a consensus that the only two things that cause hiccups are a dry throat and a fluctuating diaphragm. Now, I've been drinking beer, so my throat's definitely not dry. It's got to be the alcohol and other factors causing my diaphragm to fluctuate. So, regulate my breathing, then exhale completely, hold my breath for a few seconds, and then give a nice regular inhale and start breathing regularly. Guess what? Drunken hiccups are gone. Try it. Try it the next time you get the drunken hiccups. See what happens. But that's an aside. This 13% ABV beer is going to kick my ass because it tastes so good and goes down so smooth for something that should be a little bit rough, but it's not. It's got a nice medium mouthfeel. It's smooth, it's delicious, the cinnamon comes through in the finish, it's not overwhelming, it's not a burning cinnamon flavor like some other cinnamon beers I've had. It complements the barley wine so well that this goes down smoothly like a drinkable cinnamon applesauce. And again, I don't know where the apple is coming from, because other than the sickly sweetness that you usually get from a barley wine, this should not taste sweet or appley at all. Maybe there's just a junction in my brain that associates that sweetness and that cinnamon with cinnamon applesauce and doesn't know what else to do with it, so it's jumping over to cinnamon applesauce and making me think that's what I'm tasting. Maybe. Unless everybody else is tasting the same thing, in which case it's not just my weird brain, it's what this beer does. So, hit me up down in the comments, the email link down below. Let me know what you think of the beer. I'd love to hear whether you're getting the same impression of it as I am. If you get a different impression, I still want to hear about it. I want to know about that. Personally, for me, this is a full 5 out of 5. This beer has just impressed me with its smoothness, the flavor, because it's completely not what I was expecting. And for a 13.3% ABV beer, it is surprisingly easy to drink. This thing is well put together. I'm loving it. I'm thinking this is a kickoff to the evening rather than a finisher, which is what I'm using it for today. But let that be a lesson to you, because I sure as hell didn't think before drinking it. While you're down there telling me what you thought about the beer, make sure to hit me up with a like and a share, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Until next time, folks, thanks for tuning in. Cheers.